Have you ever poured your entire being into something, piece by painstaking piece, only for it to be snatched away, its authorship wrongly claimed by another? Have you felt the burning injustice, the bitter sting of invisible labor, the quiet despair of being overlooked despite your brilliance? This is the story of Annika Schneider, a woman whose extraordinary talent was nearly buried under the weight of entitlement, yet who rose, phoenix-like, to claim her rightful place, proving that true innovation cannot be stolen, only replicated poorly. In the bustling heart of Berlin, amidst the clatter of keyboards and the hushed urgency of tech startups, Annika, at 30 years old, was a name whispered with respect among those who truly understood the subtle art of user experience design. Her workspace, though modest, hummed with a quiet intensity, a testament to the 2 years she had meticulously, passionately dedicated to a single project, a groundbreaking digital platform for her company, Apex Solutions. It was more than just an application. It was an intuitive ecosystem designed to bridge complex data with human simplicity, a vision born from countless late nights, discarded prototypes, and an unyielding commitment to perfection. Annika saw the world through the eyes of the user, anticipating needs before they were even articulated, weaving seamless pathways through digital labyrinths. She had architected every flow, every pixel, every interaction, turning abstract concepts into a tangible, beautiful reality. Her colleagues, a small, tight-knit team, recognized her genius, often deferring to her quiet authority in design meetings, marveling at her ability to distill intricate problems into elegant solutions. They watched her, almost in awe, as she meticulously polished the platform, iterating, refining, breathing life into lines of code and visual elements. The CEO, a man named Mr. Richter, a figure more comfortable in boardrooms than creative studios, had initially given her complete autonomy, trusting her reputation and the palpable excitement around the nascent product. He would occasionally sweep through the design lab, offering a perfunctory nod, perhaps a vague compliment, before retreating to the financial figures that truly captured his attention. Annika, however, found her satisfaction not in his superficial praise, but in the evolving perfection of her creation, in the tangible progress of her vision. The platform was poised to revolutionize their industry, to establish Apex Solutions as an undeniable leader, and Annika, though humble, knew deep in her heart that this was her magnum opus, her legacy. The launch date loomed, a mere few weeks away, an air of eager anticipation filling the offices, a culmination of shared effort, yet predominantly, Annika's singular, unwavering dedication. She envisioned the celebratory headlines, the industry recognition, the user testimonials praising the effortless design. This project was not just a professional endeavor, it was a deeply personal testament to her craft, a part of her very soul poured onto the digital canvas. She allowed herself, for the first time in months, a fleeting moment of quiet pride, a serene sense of accomplishment that permeated her being as she reviewed the final, polished interface. The promise of impact, of transforming the way people interacted with technology, pulsed through her, invigorating her spirit. The world, however, has a cruel way of reminding us that not all effort is justly rewarded, and not all visions are honored. Annika's quiet anticipation was shattered, not by a dramatic explosion, but by the dull, sickening thud of betrayal. It came in the form of a casual announcement, delivered with the indifferent detachment of a decree, by Mr. Richter himself, during a routine team meeting. His eyes, usually distant, seemed to avoid hers, darting instead to his son, Lucas, who stood beside him, a smirk barely concealed on his face. Lucas, fresh out of university, possessing more privilege than talent, had drifted through various departments at Apex Solutions, leaving a trail of half-finished tasks and unfulfilled promises. His presence in the design lab was an anomaly, an unwelcome intrusion, a constant source of low-grade irritation for Annika and her team. They knew him as the CEO's charming, yet utterly incompetent, progeny, a figurehead whose primary skill was navigating parental expectations rather than complex digital ecosystems. Mr. Richter cleared his throat, his voice devoid of emotion. As we approach the launch of our groundbreaking platform, I've decided it's time for a new generation of leadership to take the reins. My son, Lucas, will be stepping in as the project lead, overseeing the final stages and, of course, representing Apex Solutions as the face of this innovation. Annika felt the words strike her like physical blows, each syllable a hammer fracturing her carefully constructed world. Her heart, a moment ago buoyant with pride, plummeted into a chilling abyss. The air in the room seemed to thicken, a suffocating silence descending as her colleagues exchanged horrified glances, their eyes wide with disbelief, reflecting the shock that resonated through Annika's entire being. She watched in a daze as Lucas stepped forward, a smug, self-satisfied grin spreading across his face. He extended a hand towards the monitor displaying Annika's masterpiece, a gesture of ownership, of appropriation, as if he had conjured it from thin air. "I'm excited to put my stamp on this, to really push it into the market," he declared, his voice brimming with an unearned confidence that grated on Annika's raw nerves. He spoke as if the 2 years of her life, the sleepless nights, the relentless problem-solving, the sheer creative force she had poured into every line of code, every design decision, every user flow, were mere footnotes to his grand entrance. Annika's jaw tightened, a tremor running through her hands, but she said nothing. Her silence was not born of submission, but of a profound, incandescent rage, a white-hot fury that boiled beneath the surface. It was a rage that sought no immediate outlet, no verbal retort, but rather an inner resolve, a quiet, unshakable decision. She looked at Lucas, truly looked at him, and saw not a rival, but a hollow shell, an empty vessel, a mimic whose greatest talent was deception. She saw a man who would never truly understand the intricate beauty, the meticulous logic, the profound empathy woven into the very fabric of her design. The betrayal was complete, the humiliation absolute. Annika knew, with a chilling certainty, that she could not, would not, remain in a place where her worth was so casually discarded, her labor so brazenly stolen. Her resignation, though not yet articulated, was already a silent roar in her soul. It was a vow whispered to herself, that this act of theft, this audacious display of nepotism, would not be the end of her story, but merely the catalyst for a new, uncharted beginning. She would not be a footnote, she would write her own chapters, a narrative far grander and more resonant than they could ever imagine. The sting of injustice fueled a nascent fire within her, hardening her resolve, sharpening her focus. She would not merely leave, she would redefine success on her own terms. The days following the announcement were a blur of cold, controlled motion for Annika. She moved through the office like a ghost, her presence barely registered by Lucas, who had already begun to redecorate her meticulously organized design space with his own haphazard paraphernalia, oblivious to the silent fury he had ignited. Annika's heart ached with a profound sense of loss, not just for the stolen credit, but for the dream itself, the idea of seeing her brainchild flourish under her own stewardship. The platform, her creation, felt sullied, tainted by the touch of unearned hands. She cleaned out her desk, her movements precise, methodical, almost surgical, stripping away any personal trace, any evidence of her 2 years of devoted labor. Each item she packed felt like a fragment of her shattered trust, a relic of a past that had ended abruptly. Her colleagues offered whispered sympathies, knowing glances, but Annika met them with a stoic, unreadable expression. Words felt inadequate, hollow, in the face of such a profound injustice. Her resignation was a quiet act of defiance, a simple, concise email sent late one evening to Mr. Richter, devoid of dramatics, yet heavy with unspoken meaning. She cited irreconcilable differences in creative vision, a polite euphemism for blatant theft and unconscionable nepotism. There was no fanfare, no angry outburst, just a dignified, silent retreat. She gathered her belongings, left her key on the polished surface of her now empty desk, and walked out of Apex Solutions for the last time, the heavy glass doors closing behind her with a soft, final sigh. The Berlin evening air, usually crisp and invigorating, felt heavy, suffocating. Anika walked for hours, her mind a tempest of emotions: anger, humiliation, grief, but also a fierce, unwavering determination. She refused to be a victim, to let this setback define her, to allow the arrogance of others to extinguish her creative spark. As the city lights blurred into streaks of color, a new resolve began to solidify within her. The concept, the core essence of her platform, was hers, forged in the crucible of her mind. Lucas might have the current iteration, but he lacked the foresight, the ingenuity, the sheer talent to truly evolve it. He had merely copied, not created. Anika decided, then and there, that she would not simply move on. She would rebuild, better, stronger, her vision uncompromised. The very humiliation she had endured would be the fuel for her rebirth. She would refine her concept, strip away the compromises forced upon her by corporate constraints, and imbue it with an even purer, more audacious design. This wasn't about revenge, not truly, though a flicker of satisfaction at the thought of outmaneuvering them certainly warmed her resolve. It was about validation, about proving to herself and to the world that true talent cannot be suppressed, that authentic innovation will always find its way to light. The digital blueprint of her genius was not some physical object that could be confiscated. It resided within her, etched into the very fabric of her being. She would simply craft it anew, elevate it, and unleash it upon a market eager for true ingenuity. The quiet solitude of her small Berlin apartment became Anika's sanctuary, a makeshift war room where she plotted her resurgence. The initial sting of betrayal had dulled into a focused resolve, a quiet hum of purpose. She refused to wallow in self-pity, choosing instead to channel her incandescent rage into a torrent of renewed creativity. Her laptop, a familiar extension of her thoughts, became her canvas once more. She revisited every line of code, every design element of her stolen project, not with bitterness, but with an objective, analytical eye. What could be improved? What compromises had she made under the pressures of Apex Solutions that she could now discard? How could she elevate her original vision, not just recreate it, but transcend it? Anika spent weeks immersed in this solitary endeavor, fueled by strong coffee and an unyielding conviction. She stripped away the layers of corporate jargon and restrictive parameters, peeling back the superficial elements to reveal the pure, elegant core of her concept. She reimagined user flows, streamlined interfaces, and incorporated emerging technologies that Apex Solutions, with its bureaucratic inertia, would never have considered. The new design was leaner, faster, more intuitive, a testament to her unencumbered vision. It was the original platform, perfected, liberated, shining with an almost defiant brilliance. This was not just a redesign, it was a revolution of her own making, a testament to her unyielding spirit. Simultaneously, Anika embarked on a meticulous research mission, her focus shifting from creation to strategy. She devoured industry reports, scrutinized competitor analyses, and delved deep into the landscape of European tech. Her target, a rival firm, one with a reputation for genuine innovation, an appetite for risk, and, crucially, a culture that valued talent over lineage. She wasn't looking for just any job. She was looking for a partner, an entity that would recognize and champion her genius, not exploit it. After countless hours of research, one name consistently emerged: Innovate Tech, a dynamic, rapidly growing company based in Hamburg. They were known for their forward-thinking approach, their willingness to invest in disruptive technologies, and their ethical business practices. Their CEO, a visionary named Dr. Elias Thorne, had built Innovate Tech on principles of meritocracy, and a genuine passion for pushing technological boundaries. Annika studied their portfolio, their recent acquisitions, their public statements. They were the antithesis of Apex Solutions, a beacon of possibility in the murky waters of corporate politics. A quiet determination solidified within her. This was the arena where her true battle would be fought, where her vindication would be won. She meticulously crafted a new pitch, a presentation not just of her refined platform, but of her unique philosophy, her problem-solving methodology, her unshakable belief in the transformative power of intuitive design. This was not merely a resume, it was a manifesto. She honed every slide, every word, every visual, ensuring that it spoke directly to Innovate Tech's values, showcasing not just what she had built, but how she built it, and why it mattered. This was her chance, her second act, her opportunity to prove that true genius could not be confined or stolen. The day of the pitch dawned crisp and clear in Hamburg, mirroring the sharp clarity of Annika's mind. She stood before the imposing glass facade of Innovate Tech's headquarters, a structure that gleamed with futuristic promise, a stark contrast to the staid, traditional building of Apex Solutions. A quiet thrill ran through her, a mix of apprehension and exhilaration. This was it. She walked into the lobby, her portfolio clutched tightly, her posture radiating a calm, determined confidence that belied the storm of emotions simmering beneath the surface. The meeting was set for a private conference room, minimalist and sleek, overlooking the bustling city. Dr. Elias Thorne, Innovate Tech's CEO, was a man of quiet intensity, his eyes sharp and analytical, yet possessing a warmth that hinted at genuine curiosity. He was flanked by his head of product development, a stern-faced woman named Clara, and his chief technology officer, a jovial but astute man named Marcus. Their collective presence radiated competence, a sense of purposeful engagement that immediately put Annika at ease. Dr. Thorne offered a polite, somewhat reserved greeting, his initial demeanor suggesting a man accustomed to discerning genuine innovation from mere pretension. Annika began her presentation, her voice steady, confident, filled with an understated passion. She didn't just present her refined digital platform, she wove a narrative, explaining the core problem it solved, the human need it addressed, the seamless experience it promised. She spoke of user empathy, elegant problem solving, and the transformative power of intuitive design. As she navigated through the complex architecture of her new platform, showcasing its enhanced features, its streamlined functionalities, its breathtaking visual simplicity, Annika saw a subtle shift in Dr. Thorne's expression. The initial polite skepticism began to melt away, replaced by a growing fascination, then a glint of recognition, and finally, unbridled excitement. His analytical gaze deepened, absorbing every detail, every nuanced explanation. He leaned forward, occasionally interjecting with incisive questions that demonstrated a profound understanding of the technological landscape, questions that Annika answered with clarity and conviction. Clara and Marcus, initially reserved, began to exchange impressed glances, their expressions morphing from professional assessment to genuine awe. Annika noticed the shift, a surge of quiet triumph coursing through her. She was not just being heard, she was being understood, truly seen for the first time in a very long time. Her talent, her vision, was being recognized, validated, in a way Apex Solutions had never truly appreciated. When she concluded, the room was silent for a long moment, not with indifference, but with the weight of profound impact. Dr. Thorne slowly leaned back, a thoughtful smile spreading across his face. "Miss Schneider," he began, his voice resonating with admiration. "This is extraordinary. We've seen many pitches, but your vision, the elegance of your solution, it's truly unparalleled. And frankly, your story, your resilience, is as compelling as the product itself." He paused, his gaze fixed on Annika, a challenge and an invitation in his eyes. "Tell us, Miss Schneider, what would it take for you to bring this future, to Innovate Tech. Annika met his gaze, a quiet fire burning in her eyes. This was the moment. This was the catalyst. The offer from Innovate Tech was not merely a job, it was an affirmation, a profound vote of confidence that reverberated through Annika's very being. Dr. Thorne, true to his word, extended an unprecedented proposition, not just to lead the development of her platform, but to establish an entirely new division dedicated to it. With significant autonomy and resources, it was a blank canvas, an opportunity to build her vision exactly as she intended, without compromise or interference. The contrast with her previous experience was stark, almost dizzying in its purity. Annika accepted, her heart swelling with a potent mixture of gratitude and a fierce determination to prove them right. She relocated to Hamburg, a city that embraced her with a new sense of possibility, a vibrant energy that matched her own rekindled drive. Her office at Innovate Tech was not just a workspace, it was a sanctuary of innovation, a hub where her ideas could unfurl freely. Dr. Thorne and his team were not just employers, they were collaborators, champions, their belief in her infectious. Annika, now unburdened by the politics of nepotism and the weight of unappreciated labor, poured every ounce of her prodigious talent into bringing her perfected platform to life. She assembled a lean, agile team, handpicking individuals who shared her passion for user-centric design, who understood the subtle nuances of her vision, and who were as committed as she was to pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The atmosphere in her new division was electric, humming with creativity, a stark contrast to the often stifling environment she had left behind. Days blurred into nights as the platform took shape, faster, more efficiently, and with even greater polish than she had ever dared to dream possible at Apex Solutions. Every iteration was a triumph, every successful test a validation. Annika felt a profound sense of ownership, not just of the code, but of the entire process, of the burgeoning success that was unmistakably, unequivocally hers. Meanwhile, word trickled back from Berlin, whispers of discord and mounting frustration at Apex Solutions. Lucas, operating with a superficial understanding of Annika's complex design, had stumbled from one blunder to another. He had made arbitrary changes, introducing clunky features and illogical user flows, convinced his fresh perspective would enhance the product. His lack of genuine comprehension of the underlying architecture, his inability to anticipate user needs, transformed Annika's elegant creation into a convoluted mess. The initial launch, delayed repeatedly, was riddled with bugs and met with widespread user frustration. The industry, initially curious, began to murmur about the platform's surprising mediocrity, a stark departure from the buzz that had surrounded its development. Annika observed from a distance, a quiet sense of dramatic irony settling over her. She felt no malice, only a detached confirmation of what she had always known. Talent, true talent, cannot be replicated through mere imitation. It lives in the mind, in the spirit, in the relentless pursuit of excellence. Lucas's stolen version was a pale, distorted shadow of her original vision, destined for failure, while her own true masterpiece was blossoming into something magnificent. The inevitable downfall of Lucas's stolen version at Apex Solutions unfolded with a predictable, almost tragic, inevitability. The highly anticipated launch of their platform, Apex Connect, a name so generic it underscored its lack of originality, was a spectacular disaster. Early adopters, lured by the pre-launch hype, quickly voiced their disappointment. Reviews flooded in, scathing and vitriolic, lambasting the platform's clunky interface, its unintuitive navigation, and its frustrating array of bugs. What Annika had meticulously crafted as a seamless user experience, Lucas had managed to dismantle into a labyrinth of frustration. He had, in his ignorance, simplified critical features, enhanced others with superfluous complexity, and completely missed the underlying emotional intelligence woven into Annika's original design. Customers reported crashes, data inconsistencies, and a general sense of being utterly lost within the system. The promise of a revolutionary tool quickly devolved into a punchline within the tech community. Industry analysts, initially intrigued, now published critical reports dissecting Apex Connect's myriad flaws, highlighting its surprising lack of functionality compared to its initial ambitious claims. Headlines, once poised to celebrate its arrival, now mockingly questioned its very existence. Apex Connect, more disconnect than connect, one prominent tech blog declared. Another, more bluntly, asked, has Apex Solutions lost its touch or its mind? The financial repercussions were immediate and severe. Subscriptions plummeted. Pilot projects were canceled. Investors who had bought into the initial hype and Mr. Richter's overconfident projections began to pull out, their confidence shattered by the public outcry and the irrefutable evidence of a deeply flawed product. The once proud reputation of Apex Solutions began to crumble, brick by painful brick. Lucas, the supposed face of innovation, found himself the bewildered target of immense scrutiny and ridicule. He blustered, deflected, and attempted to scapegoat his remaining team. But the undeniable truth was staring everyone in the face. He lacked the foundational understanding, the innate talent, the genuine vision to lead such a complex project. He was exposed, not as a visionary, but as an entitled charlatan whose only skill was borrowing the labor of others. News of Apex Connect's spectacular failure inevitably reached Annika in Hamburg. It came not through official reports, but through casual mentions in tech forums, through colleagues sharing industry gossip, through the quiet, knowing glances exchanged in the Innovate Tech break room. She read the scathing reviews, saw the damning headlines, and felt a profound, yet dispassionate, sense of vindication. There was no joy in their failure, not truly, but a quiet satisfaction that justice, in its own slow, relentless way, was being served. It was a stark, undeniable validation of her own integrity, her own genius. It reaffirmed her belief that true value, unlike a stolen product, cannot be faked or maintained by deceit. Lucas's platform was a monument to his incompetence, a stark juxtaposition to the rising edifice of Annika's true creation, nearing its own, far more glorious, launch. The air at Innovate Tech was electric, vibrating with a different kind of anticipation than Annika had ever experienced at Apex Solutions. This wasn't just a product launch, it was the culmination of months of relentless innovation, a testament to true talent, and for Annika, a deeply personal moment of vindication. Her platform, now rebranded as Nexus, was finally ready to be unveiled to the world. It was everything she had envisioned and more, sleek, intuitive, powerful, and utterly groundbreaking. When Nexus launched, it wasn't just a ripple, it was a tidal wave. The response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. Users, desperate for a truly functional and user-friendly solution, embraced Nexus with an enthusiasm that exceeded even Innovate Tech's most optimistic projections. The reviews were ecstatic, praising its seamless interface, its robust functionality, its unparalleled ease of use. Nexus, the future of digital interaction, declared one leading tech publication. Another hailed Annika as the architect of tomorrow's user experience. Headlines screamed her name, positioning her as the visionary leader she truly was. Within weeks, Nexus dominated the market. Its user base swelled exponentially, rapidly outperforming all competitors, including the floundering Apex Connect. The industry watched in awe as Nexus not only met, but far surpassed, its initial adoption targets. Awards began to pour in. Best New Platform, Innovation of the Year, User's Choice Award. Each accolade was not just a trophy. It was a resounding validation of Annika's genius, a public declaration that her work, her vision, was undeniable. The pinnacle of this triumph came with the announcement of a multi-million euro deal, a strategic partnership that solidified Nexus's position as an industry leader and elevated Innovate Tech to new heights. Dr. Thorne, beaming with pride, personally congratulated Annika, his eyes reflecting the deep respect and admiration he held for her. He spoke of her as a partner in vision, a cornerstone of Innovate Tech's future. Anika stood in the spotlight, not just as a successful designer, but as the face of innovation, a symbol of what happens when talent is given the freedom to flourish. Her journey from obscurity and betrayal to this moment of public acclaim was a powerful narrative, one that resonated deeply within the industry. She wasn't just a name on a product. She was the living embodiment of its success, the creative force that had brought it to life. This was not a success built on stolen credit or inherited privilege. It was a triumph forged in the crucible of her own talent, her resilience, and her unwavering belief in her own worth. The dramatic irony was palpable. While Lucas floundered in the wreckage of his stolen, failing product, Anika was soaring, her name synonymous with cutting-edge design and unparalleled user experience. Her success was not just professional. It was a deeply personal victory, a reclaiming of her narrative, a powerful statement that true genius cannot be suppressed, and that integrity, ultimately, always triumphs. The echoes of her success reverberated across the industry, reaching even the once hallowed halls of Apex Solutions, where the whispers of her name now carried a very different weight. The fallout at Apex Solutions was swift and devastating. The catastrophic failure of Apex Connect sent shockwaves through the company, exposing Mr. Richter's short-sightedness and Lucas's profound incompetence to the unforgiving glare of the market. Board meetings, once dominated by confident projections, now became tense, acrimonious battlegrounds. Investors, having endured significant losses, demanded accountability. The company's once sterling reputation was in tatters, its market share eroding rapidly under the relentless onslaught of Nexus's undeniable success. Lucas, once the anointed successor, found himself stripped of his responsibilities, relegated to a ceremonial role that barely masked his public humiliation. His attempts to deflect blame, to criticize Anika's original design, fell on deaf ears. The evidence was irrefutable. Anika's true creation, Nexus, was dominating the market, while his poorly executed imitation was a laughingstock. The juxtaposition was too stark, too painful to ignore. Mr. Richter, too, faced the bitter consequences of his decision. His trust in nepotism over merit had cost his company dearly, not just in financial terms, but in credibility and future potential. He was forced to issue public apologies, to make desperate attempts to salvage Apex Solutions' tarnished image, all while watching Anika's star rise higher and brighter with each passing day. He occasionally saw Anika's face on the covers of tech magazines, saw her quoted in industry journals, heard her name mentioned with reverence. Each instance was a fresh sting, a cruel reminder of the extraordinary talent he had so casually cast aside. Anika, now a recognized authority in UX design, was invited to speak at international conferences, her insights eagerly sought after by industry leaders. She built her new division at Innovate Tech into a powerhouse of innovation, attracting top talent, shaping the future of digital interaction. She was empowered, not just by her success, but by the profound knowledge that she had achieved it on her own terms, through her own undeniable brilliance. There was no gloating, no public tirade against her former employer. Anika carried herself with quiet dignity, her success speaking volumes more than any angry words ever could. She understood that true victory was not about tearing others down, but about building something so extraordinary that its brilliance eclipsed all shadows. Her focus remained steadfastly on the future, on pushing Nexus to even greater heights, on pioneering new solutions, on continuing to innovate with integrity. The narrative of her journey became an industry legend, the overlooked virtuoso, the hidden gem whose light could not be dimmed, even by the most callous of betrayals. She was a testament to resilience, to the power of genuine talent, and to the fundamental truth that true ownership resides not in a name on a title, but in the heart and mind of the creator. Anika Schneider had not just built a platform, she had built a legacy, a living proof that originality, hard work, and an unshakable belief in oneself can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. She became the embodiment of the idea that while you can steal a product, you can never steal the genius that conceived it. So, what does Anika's story tell us? It tells us that true talent, like a beacon in the darkest night, cannot be extinguished, only temporarily obscured. It reminds us that integrity is not just a virtue, but a powerful currency, one that ultimately pays dividends far richer than any ill-gotten gain. Anika Schneider's journey from the shadows of betrayal to the blinding light of triumph is a potent testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unstoppable force of authentic innovation. Her story is a modern fable, whispered in boardrooms and classrooms alike, of how a dream, once stolen, can be reclaimed, refined, and launched into an orbit far beyond the reach of its original thief. It teaches us that while titles and positions can be inherited or unfairly assigned, true genius, genuine hard work, and an unwavering commitment to excellence are qualities that must be earned, and once earned, they form an unbreakable foundation for success. The world will always have its Lucas figures, those who seek to take shortcuts, to appropriate the labor of others, to stand on the shoulders of giants without ever having put in the effort to climb. But it will also, always, recognize and elevate the Anikas, the quiet, dedicated visionaries whose brilliance shines so brightly that it cannot be ignored. Their path may be harder, fraught with more obstacles, but their victories are all the more meaningful, all the more enduring. Anika didn't just succeed, she redefined what success looked like, stripping away the superficiality of credit and revealing the profound power of true creation. Her platform, Nexus, was more than just an application. It was a symbol, a monument to the idea that value is inherent in the creator, not in the name on a document. It was a victory not just for her, but for every overlooked talent, every unacknowledged artist, every individual whose hard work has been casually dismissed. This story urges us to look beyond the surface, to recognize the hidden gems around us, to value substance over facade, and to always, always champion those who build with integrity and passion. For in their hands lies the true power of transformation. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be questioning their own worth in a world that sometimes seems to prioritize privilege over potential. Let Anika's journey be a reminder that your unique genius is your most powerful asset, and that no one, no matter how entitled, can ever truly steal what is intrinsically yours. Believe in your vision, protect your craft, and know that your moment of recognition, earned through sheer merit, is waiting.